Welcome to the Frequency of Yes. I'm Kirstin Carey, seven-figure business strategist and somatic sales mentor. I am obsessed with helping women activate their divine wealth frequency, the grounded state that makes selling strategic, fluid, and profitable without burnout or bro energy. And if you're ready to sell in a way that feels effortless, expands your wealth, and honors your body as much as your business, then you're in the right place. This podcast is for feminine leaders who have premium offers and are done with the hustle, the manipulation, and the undercharging, and who are ready to create consistent income with clients who light you up and get extraordinary results. Each week, you're going to get a mix of sales psychology, strategy, and energetic calibration, all designed to help you refine your messaging, stabilize your sales, and lead from your full body yes. Welcome back to the Money and Pricing series here on the Frequency of Yes. Over the last 4 episodes, we've been unpacking the energetic and the strategic layers that shape how you earn, charge, and receive. In part 1, we dismantled the biggest myths about pricing, especially the charge what you're worth trap. And we explored how to separate your self-worth from your price point. In part 2, we looked at the emotional patterns that keep high-achieving women discounting, apologizing, or hesitating to sell, and then how to shift into balanced, unapologetic pricing energy. Part 3 was about aligning your offers and your income model with your nervous system's capabilities so your business can scale without the burnout. And part 4, we talked about the power of having one solid core offer, which is the foundation to stabilize your entire business and set the stage for sustainable expansion, which brings us here to part 5, the Frequency of Yes pricing method, how to sell prices that feel solid and convert with ease. Now, this episode is where everything comes together. It's where we take the strategy, the energy, and the embodiment that we've been talking about and turn them into a pricing framework that feels solid and fluid and grows with you. Because if your pricing has ever felt like guesswork or something that you have to psych yourself up for, this conversation is going to shift that. Because today we're getting into the real root, what's happening underneath your pricing and how to set prices that convert with ease because they're anchored into your somatic intelligence. And if you've been feeling like your pricing still has a wobble, like some days feel really solid, but then one prospect questions it, or there's a comparison post online that starts sending you spiraling, then this episode is for you. Because pricing isn't just about math, it's about identity. And the woman who sets the price determines how the world receives it. So let's drop in. Let's talk about what's really happening underneath your pricing. Why did you choose the price for any of your offers? Just pick one thing that you charge for right now. Where did that number come from? Like, did someone else tell you that was the right price? Or are you simply copying what others in your niche are charging because it looks like it's working for them? Or maybe you're afraid to charge more. Maybe you've been using what I call apology pricing, which is keeping your rate lower to make up for the guilt that you feel about charging at all. Or you're using convincing pricing, which is charging to get as many people across the line on a low ticket offer so that once they're into that low ticket offer, you can then prove your value and hope that they'll stay for a higher value option. Also here, I want to make sure I touch on the fact that dysregulated pricing doesn't always mean that you're undercharging. Because if you're not leading from an internal balance, then it's likely that you're overcompensating because of external pressure. And sometimes you're pricing too high for what your system can actually handle. And then you pack your offer with extra modules, endless bonuses, and then you try to prove your worth of the program by stuffing every single minute with content. That too is dysregulated frequency. It says, well, if I just give them everything, maybe they'll finally see the value. But here's what's happening strategically. Your audience feels the overwhelm that you've built into that offer, and it vibrates through your marketing, your launches, and your delivery. And so often clients are coming to you simply to get an easier set of steps so that they can reach that transformation. Giving them more doesn't solve that for them. And dysregulated pricing feels like constantly refreshing your Stripe account, hoping the numbers are going to prove that you're safe. And if it feels like you can barely breathe when you tell someone what you charge, or like you have to justify it immediately, That's dysregulation. Regulated pricing feels like an exhale, knowing that the right people are already finding you and they're just waiting for you to make that offer. A grounded offer doesn't try to prove its value, it embodies it. And the most magnetic programs are rarely the most packed, they're the most precise. And we talked earlier in the series about what I call Goldilocks pricing. It's that number that's not too high, it's not too low, but it's calibrated to be just right for both of you and your client. This is the deeper layer of that. Because getting to your Goldilocks price isn't about picking a middle number. It's about finding the energetic middle point between scarcity and overextension. It's that place where your strategy and your system both say yes. And as you think about Goldilocks pricing in your business, I want you to check in and sense in your body, what would it feel like to have pricing that just feels right? Do you recognize that sensation? Or is it so unfamiliar to feel that kind of balance or surety in your pricing and in your business? But if you had that kind of comfort in your prices, how do you think that would impact your income and your client flow? So let's talk about something that trips up even some of the most experienced women in business. It's this idea of being affordable. And I hear this word a lot, especially from women who carry a really deep desire to help. They'll say things like, I just want my work to be affordable. But here's the thing, affordability is not a fixed number. It's relative. And what feels expensive to one person, it's a rounding error for somebody else. And when we make affordability the North Star for pricing, we unintentionally make decisions from guilt instead of grounded generosity. And we start trying to manage other people's finances instead of our own. And that's not somatic intelligence or good business leadership. Your job is not to decide what other people can and cannot afford. Your job is to ensure that your company is solvent, that your body is resourced, and that the work you do is sustainable. Being of service does not mean being in struggle. People always pay for what they perceive as valuable. They find a way. And then they cut back on what doesn't matter to make space for what does. The moment you decide that someone else's money story should dictate your pricing, you step out of alignment with your own wealth frequency. And frankly, you start messing with someone else's. So instead of asking, is this affordable? Ask, is this aligned? Again, start asking, is this aligned? Not, is this affordable? Is this price sustainable for my business? Is it respectful of my energy and the transformation that I deliver? Is it rooted in service or self-sacrifice? Because true affordability isn't about the cheapest option. It's about ensuring that your client's investment reflects the expansion that they're ready for, and that your business continues to thrive as a result. When both sides of that equation are respected, everyone rises. That's the frequency of yes in motion. And if any of this feels familiar, that's great, because it means you're in exactly the right place at exactly the right time. And because if this is resonating with you, that's a sign that your nervous system has been leading from dysregulation. The good news is that now you recognize that there's something you can actually do about it. And when pricing comes from comparison, guilt, or fear, you're not in alignment, you're in survival, which is then going to kick you into fight or flight mode and send out the wrong signal. Because you're not confused about your value. You're just fatigued from trying to explain it to people who were never meant to afford you in the first place. Now, this episode isn't about making your prices palatable. It's about making them powerful, because you've already earned the right to charge premium rates. You've done the work and you have the skill. You have all of the proof. What you need now is permission. The other women who are out there getting paid premium prices, the ones who have half your skill and half your talent, you know what they have that you don't? Belief. That's it. They believe they could, so they did. And I know how much that can burn. But when you see someone who's getting the clients that you know you could have helped, that hurts. But part of the reason they're getting them and you're not is because they're aligned with their divine wealth frequency. And that's very attractive to premium clients. And the difference is these women who are attracting and converting these clients into their programs, they've done the work around that frequency so they understand it. They know how to call it in, and they know what it feels like when they're resonating with it and when they're out of balance with it. So survival pricing reeks of that hustle and grind. It grasps at anything that might work just to keep the business breathing. It apologizes, it begs. The desperation oozes all over everything, and money flows away from desperation. A grounded, regulated price feels completely different. You can say grounded prices without shrinking. You don't have to justify them. You feel solid within them. And that solidity transfers directly to your premium client. And this is exactly why I wanted to bring this conversation full circle, because this isn't just theory. Every single time I've worked with a woman who says, I just want to be affordable, what she's really saying underneath that is, I don't want to be judged for charging what I know it's worth. And that guilty frequency, it's sneaky. It hides behind words like service and generosity and accessibility and empathy. But underneath, it's fear. Fear of being seen as greedy or out of touch or leaving people behind. And that fear is exactly what drives the kind of dysregulated pricing that keeps brilliant, empathetic women undercharging and over-delivering. And if you were being brutally honest right now, what prices do you have in your business that were priced from guilt or external pressure to stay affordable? Which ones are actually grounded and solid? And more importantly, how do you know? Is there a specific sensation like a heaviness in your chest or constriction in your throat when you say your prices out loud? Or do you feel aligned with them? That's your somatic intelligence kicking in to tell you something isn't right. But the question remains, is that a response to conditioning or from your divine wealth frequency? There's a calibration point within your system that will let you know when you've priced your offers within your divine wealth frequency. It's the part of you that's sure you're aligned and the work that you do impacts lives. It's a feeling. It's an energy. It is not a thought. And when you hit it, everything feels like it makes sense inside of you and all around you. It's like the sound of a puzzle piece when it clicks into place. So let me give you an example of what that kind of pricing frequency is like. One of my clients built a program that literally helps people prevent and reverse a life-threatening health condition that her mother died from. And then when she was diagnosed with it, she made it her mission to learn everything she could about it, which she did. Years of experience with this, and she healed herself from it. So she wanted to spare others the pain she and her family had experienced from a condition that was not only reversible, it was actually preventable. So on paper, from every logical angle, her offer and her pricing made perfect sense. But every launch she was doing felt heavy. And every time she pitched the offer, it felt forced. And every sales conversation felt like she was running uphill. So when we unpacked all of that, she said to me, maybe I should just lower the price. Maybe I should look at a free trial so people can just see how good it is. And that's the trap of convincing pricing, where we try to prove our worth through overgiving by providing high-touch support and removing all of the boundaries. And when you feel like you have to convince, it typically means there's a rescue vibration going on, and you're attracting disempowered prospects who need a lot of support and nurturing and touch points just to make a decision. And even when they do decide to move forward, there's still a lot of wobble and reassurance that needs to happen. Working with them feels like pulling teeth. So the real issue isn't pricing, it's the frequency behind it. So she was carrying this emotional burden of responsibility for everyone. She was transmitting stress and scarcity and pressure in every situation and every interaction. And then she was attracting people to her launches and her offers that were harder to work with because they were such in a disempowered frequency. And at one point she said, I've only helped 150 people. There are so many more people suffering. And there it was. Her focus wasn't on the 150 lives that she had transformed with her programs. It was on the imagined thousands who were suffering because she was somehow responsible to drag all of them over the finish line into wellness. And when your energy is tuned into I'm failing and I'm responsible for everything with every action that you take, your pricing, your messaging, your marketing will transmit that frequency of failure and lack. And this is exactly what happens when high achieving, empathetic coaches get trapped in the dysregulated achiever loop. They double down, they push harder, and they mistake effort for regulation. But trying harder inside a distorted frequency, it only amplifies the distortion and then it solidifies that loop. So what we did together and what I teach inside Effortless Sales Flow was we located the real source of her misalignment. We slowed everything down so her nervous system could separate her deep passion to help people from unnecessary panic and responsibility. And once she understood what was at the root of her hidden fear, we were able to regulate it. Her frequency then aligned with her most ideal clients. Her sales increased with less effort, with fewer launches and fewer sales calls. And she found her Goldilocks price and her frequency grounded. Within weeks, her messaging shifted from attracting people who wanted to be rescued to attracting her premium client, people who were resourced and ready for the transformation that was going to take place in her programs. Her audience grew, conversions increased because she was no longer selling from lack. She was selling from stability. And this isn't an isolated story. I see this pattern in almost every client who applies this type of work. The moment your frequency stabilizes, your results stabilize. Launches that once felt like uphill battles, they feel easy. Sales calls shorten, clients pay in full, and the energy in your business feels balanced and connected because coherence converts always. Every time a woman aligns her strategy with her nervous system, her income rises to meet her frequency. And that's what Effortless Sales Flow is all about. Uncovering where your system is out of sync with your strategy so that sales attract and convert seamlessly, and having the tools to regulate and align before you touch a single price point. Effortless Sales Flow isn't about the woo, and it isn't just about the strategy either. It's about the balance between the two so they work in tandem to support each other. You need the logic and the somatic intelligence. You need the strategy that makes sense and a frequency that feels safe. The number has to feel right in your body and make sense inside the larger architecture of your business. It's the both and. It's the structure and the flow, the data and the intuition, the profit and the purpose. When your pricing is too rigid, you lose connection. And when it's too fluid, you lose direction. The frequency of yes pricing method helps you find the balance point where your pricing moves with your mission as it expands, but doesn't wobble with every emotion or comparison. This is where your business stops reacting and starts connecting. But before we move into how Effortless Sales Flow bridges your energy and your strategy, I want to give you a quick reality check into where the math meets your body. Embodiment isn't canceling the logic, it balances it. And once you felt your Goldilocks price in your body, and you look at the numbers, the cost of delivery, the income goals, and your time that you invest, it all comes together. So if your somatic yes aligns with your financial solvency, that's coherence. If it doesn't, it's feedback. The body tells you where to fine-tune the math. For example, I used to own restaurants and wellness centers. The math mattered. If I was spending more money to create a dish than I was charging for that dish, then the business would go under. So of course I had to know what was being invested in the dish, from the cost of the ingredients, the amount of the staff that was making it, the amount of time to make the dish, and overhead costs like rent and utilities had to be factored in as well. Knowing the math around the hard costs was essentially the bumpers that we set up to keep us profitable. And it's important to know those numbers when you're pricing too, but they're only part of the equation. They're not the whole thing. And there's also a strategy where you intentionally create a loss leader and lose money from an offer to make it up on the back end. But it's an incredibly sophisticated strategy that we do not have the time to get into right now. So I'll make sure to add that to the list of topics that we're going to cover on another episode. But what you really need to understand from this is that to be successful in pricing, you do need to have a handle on your business expenses overall. It's not just about what feels right. You need to have the combination of the math and the somatic intelligence. And I find that most business owners are missing the balance between the two, which leads to their failure, or it leads to them working much harder than they need to for far less income. And this is where the effortless sales flow becomes the bridge. It's that process to surface the hidden dysregulation behind your strategy so that you can return to coherence where your pricing, your messaging, and your body are all saying the same yes. And this is how it works in real time. First, you've got awareness. And if you're on this call, you have an awareness. You are starting to notice what happens in your body when you say a price. Tightness means tension. Neutrality or openness means coherence. After you bring the awareness, then you can start anchoring in and asking yourself, can I lock in this price with safety, not performance because of external pressure? Once you've got that anchoring in place, then you move to attunement. This is the calibration between comfort and that stretch without collapsing or contraction. And then finally, once you get the attunement, you can go for full alignment, where your body and your strategy agree and your pricing feels effortless. So if you've been tweaking your prices, you're rewriting your sales page, you're second guessing every stinking number, the issue probably isn't your pricing strategy, it's your frequency. And if you're pricing and you're feeling that subtle contraction when you say your prices, then download the Frequency of Yes Money Map. It walks you through the exact calibration process to bring your pricing, your nervous system, and your offers back into coherence. It's your next logical step. The link for the money map is in the show notes. Go grab it as soon as we're finished. But then also, that's where we regulate and calibrate inside the effortless sales flow, the program that bridges the logic and the energy so that your sales strategy finally matches your nervous system's capacity to receive. And if you're not receiving, that means you're blocking and the money will not show up and the clients will not convert. And whether your pricing is too low and apologetic or too high and overstuffed, the root's the same, a dysregulated system trying to feel safe through control. And when you learn to regulate first, your strategy becomes clear. And that's the balance of effortless sales flow, where logic and somatic intelligence work together so your pricing, delivery, and your energy stay in rhythm. And when your strategy and your system align, pricing falls into place and selling feels easy. All right, look, take a deep breath right now. Notice what's happening in your body. You've clarified your pricing. You've grounded it in your nervous system, and you've learned to let the math and the body talk to each other. How does that feel in your system? Once you've gotten those pieces, the next layer is what happens after that when money starts moving. Because pricing creates the container, but cash flow reveals the rhythm. And in our next and final episode of Money and Pricing series, in part 6, we're going to tune into the cash flow frequency, how to smooth income highs and lows while feeling grounded and lit up. You're going to learn what it means to hold your revenue steady without shutting down your radiance, to stay regulated and alive in your natural ebb and flow of your business. Because money loves momentum. And when you understand the rhythm of cash flow, consistency stops being something you chase and becomes something that you are. Thank you for tuning into the Frequency of Yes. If this episode helped you feel more grounded in your pricing and your sales, share it with another woman who's building wealth with integrity as well. Because collectively, we can raise the frequency higher, faster than we ever could alone. The more we activate our divine wealth frequency, the more aligned, sustainable success that we create for ourselves and for every woman that's watching us rise. And if you're ready to sell in a way that feels effortless, strategic, and deeply aligned, go to evolveminded.com/map to grab your money map right now. Be sure to also like and subscribe to the podcast while you're at it. Stay grounded, stay in your full body yes. I'll see you on the next episode.